The Subaru Share the Love event is on from November 20th to January 2nd. During this event, Subaru donates to charities like Meals on Wheels, and so far has supported the delivery of nearly 5 million meals to our aging neighbors. When you purchase or lease a new vehicle during the 2025 Subaru Share the Love event, Subaru and its retailers will make a minimum $300 donation to charity. Visit Subaru.com/share to learn more.
You're listening to Dr. Emma and me on the Tudors Dynasty and Beyond podcast. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rebecca Larson, and it's Thursday, and it's the new year, and it's Dr. Emma and me, but Dr. Emma isn't back yet, so today I'm joined by Dr. Peter Stiffell. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, no, Emma has not had a sex change, I promise. It is me, it is me, Dr. Peter.
Yes. Emma will be back next week. So today, Dr. Peter Stiffell is filling in. We're going to be doing a historical Tinder. And as you probably guessed it, it's going to be about Mary the First.
Of course. I mean, she's the wife.
Yeah, that's right. But before we get into our historical Tinder, I do have an announcement that I'd like to make. And I want to talk about my Sunday episodes, because this is something I've been doing for a few years. I've been doing Sunday episodes, and I've kind of been all over the place. Couldn't quite decide what I wanted them to be. For a long time, they were just storytelling episodes. Sometimes I run replay episodes. And I thought, you know what, 2026, I want to make Sunday something people look forward to as well, because people look forward to the Tuesday and Thursday episodes. Why not look forward to Sunday? So I am teaming up with my friend Amy McElroy, and we're going to be doing an episode called Off the Record. And I'm so excited to share the first episode with you this Sunday. And I just expect lots of fun. It's off the record, so it's not so serious. It's not so academic feeling. It's just two girlfriends talking about crazy history stuff that we just want to talk about. So I hope you can join us every Sunday for Off the Record with me and Amy McElroy. So back to historical Tinder. Okay.
There's definitely a theme, isn't there? I think Mary's the first time we've had her have two matches, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah. I feel like, okay, so when we talk about Mary on the show, it's always about Philip, right? It's Mary and Philip. How do you really feel, Peter?
No, actually, he was okay. He wasn't too bad. He had dodgy legs, but that's just artists.
Dodgy legs. Yeah, that one
No,
painting.
he was fine. He was okay. He was just. How do I describe him? He was good. He was good at what he did. Apart from not having any kids with Mary, but that's his own fault, not Mary's.
I mean, really, in the end, it's probably for the best, since they were so closely related, that they did not have children.
Probably.
It looked like.
Well,
I was going to say, it looked like you were thinking about it there for a second. Like, it wasn't such a good thing that they did that.
I mean, I don't know, she was first cousin once removed. So that's not too bad.
Well, that's true.
For a Habsburg, it's not too bad.
So,
it's not like uncle.
Okay, all right. You're really trying to...
No.
For those of you that don't know genealogy, a first cousin once removed means it's your first cousin's kid. So, I don't know. It still seems pretty bad to me.
But it's weird though, isn't it? That's all far down. Well, not far down, but you know what I mean. Another generation. But there's only 11 years difference between them.
Yeah.
It's like, could have been your older sister. But anyway, that's another. I don't go into that.
That's what happens when there's big families and large age gaps between siblings, like Juana and Catherine.
That's just a good Catholic family, though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. My dad came from a family of 11 kids with three. Oh, wow. This is the best part of the story to me, is there were 11 kids, but within those 11 kids, there were 3 sets of twins, all girl, boy.
Wow. I've heard stories of, I mean, our family's not like that. We're not that big. But, I've heard like a lot of people have sort of twins or triplets or whatever and then they'd keep going, and then again, it's another set. I think once you've had one set, you sort of, I think it's more common to. I mean, I'm probably making that completely up.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's Philip's family. That's his son.
Well, that's the craziest.
Go on.
I was gonna say that's the craziest thing is the last four kids were two sets of twins. So it was like grandma had, I think she had one kid, maybe two kids, and then a set of twins, then a bunch of kids, then twins. Like, and that was in the, like, you know, she started in the 1930s and ended in the 1940s. So we know healthcare like wasn't the greatest back then.
Oh, if only Mary had that many kids, that'd be great, wouldn't it? But anyway.
That's a historical what if right there.
That's a what if, you know, if the Tudors could actually breed.
Yeah,
sorry, I shouldn't say those things there.
That's such an interesting story when it comes to the Tudors, in my opinion, is just the fact that having heirs was so difficult for them. And then you have Elizabeth, who did she or didn't she have children, right? That's always the question. And if she did, you know, like they weren't seen as an heir to her. So did it matter then?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's weird. The Tudors and Stuarts had lots of trouble, but the Plantagenets before them and the Hanoverians afterwards, they didn't have a problem.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird how those two families, obviously, I don't know if it's because they're directly related or if there's some other problems, or maybe it was God's punishment on them. Who knows? But yeah, that works, as they know, with the whole Plantagenet section to what we're talking about today. So Mary's second match. Woo! Well done, Mary. So obviously, you know, she's had Philip. Nah, we don't want Philip.
Yeah.
Oh no, I see where that's going to go. We don't want that. I mean, yeah, I'll be Queen of Spain, but you know, let's go back in time to England. Let's focus on England. Mary's in her prime, and who pops along? Reginald Pole. Now, for any of you who don't know who Reginald Pole is, he's from a very, very famous family, the Poles, who are they're the last Plantagenets. So they were the ruling family before the Tudors. So Richard was born. Sorry, not Richard. Reginald. Richard was his father. Reginald was born in 1500 on the 3rd of March in Staffordshire, and he is the grandson of George, Duke of Clarence. Now, I think you've spoken about him before in our podcast, but he is obviously Edward IV and Richard III's, the middle brother, who famously drowns. The troublesome middle brother, as always, and he drowns in a barrel of wine because apparently that's what his preferred punishment was. Whether or not that's true or not is open to debate. But from what we know, it probably did happen because he was quite pompous like that.
Yeah. The story of the Duke of Clarence is always so fascinating to me. And if you have read The White Queen by Philippa Gregory, which I feel like everybody has, you know how that story played out, how George just seemed like he was power hungry. He was going to do anything it took to get the crown. He was going to sneak behind his brother's back. He was going to fight against his brother to get it. So in the end of the story, it seems obvious that he had to be executed. But the real life story, I'm sure, is far more complicated than historical fiction.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's very much like a Lion King sort of thing, isn't it? Like you got that second brother who wants to be king. Unlike the Lion King, George doesn't succeed.
You caught me off guard there. It's been a really long time since I've seen The Lion King.
Well, it is based on the Shakespeare play, isn't it? Is it Hamlet? I think it's Hamlet.
Oh,
I might be wrong.
I didn't know that.
I'm sure it's based on Hamlet.
Oh,
I'm sure it is, but I might be wrong. So please don't start saying I'm wrong. I might be, but I'm sure it's Hamlet. I'm sure someone told me it was based on Hamlet.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah. So we're talking about Reginald, not
Reggie.
Richard.
Should we just call him? Should we call him Reggie to make it easier?
Reggie, yeah. I mean, he was. Well, where do we start with Reggie? I mean, obviously, so his dad is Richard Pole, very loyal courtier to Henry VII, but obviously it's his mum who we really like, Margaret Pole.
Yes.
I think you've had Adam Pennington on the podcast, haven't you?
Yes.
So anyone who wants to know Margaret's story and the wider Pole story, definitely read Adam's book. There's a plug for you, Adam, because it's a really good book. It's all about the Poles.
Yeah.
So because of the lineage of Margaret, who's the daughter of George, obviously you've got that white rose, which are sort of a thorn in the Tudors' side, all the way in Henry VIII, the Tool's reign, because I know you like to call him that, so we'll use that.
Tool, I love it.
Yeah, the Tool. I'll just say the Tool because then we know who we're talking about.
That's right. Henry VIII is the Tool, and Henry VII was, oh shoot, Handsy Henry. That's what we called him.
Well, he liked his money, didn't he?
Yeah.
Actually, no, he wasn't that bad. Actually, there's a lot of myth busting at the minute with Henry VII, but he was okay. He was okay. He was what they needed at the time.
That's right.
Anyway, so Pole, obviously, he's always seen as this sort of shadowy figure, sort of lurking in the shadows and all that sort of thing, whispering things to Mary's ear. But we won't get into that side of him just yet. Because the trouble with Pole is we don't really know what he thought about anything, because he just wouldn't tell anyone what he believed in, which is, I guess it's, his personal thing, and he was quite what's the word?
Reserved?
Oh, reserved, yeah, he's very reserved. From what I've been told, he wouldn't be a party goer. So, if you have all these lovely court celebrations and Mary dancing around, because we know she loved to dance, Pole was very much, that relative at the wedding who'd just sit at the corner or stand in the corner,
lurking,
muttering to himself, thinking, "Oh no, I don't approve of that. I don't approve of that." Like you're someone's great aunt or something, or the uncle no one really talks about. I'm sure he did have his good bits. But yeah, he was very stern, very serious person. You could have a really good intellectual conversation with him, but you wouldn't be able to joke around with him, I don't think. I don't think he'd be able to understand the joke. But who knows? We don't know, do we? We just don't know. But yeah, so Pole's really interesting. So why we chose him and Mary is obviously one, they lived quite similar lives. They were they were cousins. So I'm not sure if it's worse than Philip or not. I'm trying to work it out now, because if Margaret's Elizabeth of York's, so Margaret is Mary's great aunt.
I was going to say, so Henry VIII and Margaret Pole were first cousins, right?
No. So Margaret was Elizabeth of York.
Yes.
So it's her great aunt. So it's his. So I think, I might not be completely right mathematically here, because I hate maths, but I think what Mary was to Philip was Reginald to Mary.
Your brain is not fried yet.
Oh, you know me, Rebecca, we always like frying everyone's brains into me. I think that's right.
Okay.
I'm going to get my pen and paper, and we're going to work it out now.
I know. I was like, I have paper here too. I was like, I need to figure this out, because if we have Margaret
with Elizabeth,
and
then
Elizabeth
has Henry, and Margaret has
Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie, and then Henry also has Mary. So Pole is Henry's
nephew.
So Reggie is Henry's. No, it's not nephew,
cousin.
Is it?
First cousin.
Pole, yeah. So Reggie is Henry's cousin. Yes.
If this makes you guys feel any better, I am also a genealogist, and this is confusing me right now trying to figure this out.
Yes. So I'm right. So Reggie is what Mary is to Philip.
Okay. All right. I got it.
So Mary is his cousin once removed.
Okay.
That's quite weird, isn't it? That's really interesting. I've never really thought about that.
Keep it in the family.
So Mary, it doesn't matter which one Mary would have picked. It would have been dodgy. But anyway, anyway, yeah. So obviously, so Mary and Reggie know each other quite well. They're not brought up together, but he's in the family, or she at least knows of him. So Reggie, he's always been very intelligent, very pious. He was actually brought up a lot by the Carthusian monks, but that's mostly because Margaret she fell into financial difficulties when her husband died, and I think she was still out of favour of the court at the time. So she had no support. So she had to sadly send Reggie off to the monks just to not pay the bills as such, but that's where he's best placed because he's intelligent. He knows, he's very theological. The monks will teach him, educate him better, and he's going to have an education and a position in the church. Problem solved. Because he's not the eldest son either. He's only I think he's the second son, or his second one that lives anyway. So there's no real chance of him getting any lands or estates or anything. So we'll send him to the church, which most second sons did anyway. And then at least you've got a career for life. And, Uncle Henry paid for his education. So, and that's without Magdalen College in Oxford. Very, very nice college. Only the best would go there. And obviously, when he was at Oxford, he then had not a study break, but he then went to Italy to the University of Padua for a time. And he never left. Because obviously, what happens with the Tudors?
Yeah.
They end up fighting against each other, don't they? But Pole was very, very educated. He was a big humanist, very much in favour of church reform, which a lot of people think, what would you mean? Well, yes, because humanists were in favour of reform. They knew there were some problems with the church. So, like Thomas More, like John Fisher, like Mary herself, you work to fix it from within. You don't break away and cause this whole movement, which causes huge amounts of problems. You fix it within. And, and Pole, there were some people who didn't like Pole because of this, because he joined various groups and he was very theologically minded. But he was definitely he was very much a bookworm. So I think he was a bit of a Marmite character. You either loved him or you hated him.
You just said Marmite. You just threw in Marmite like it's a common word we use.
Oh, it is with us over here in England. Sorry, America. It's Marmite.
Oh my gosh.
Oh dear. Anyway, yeah. So obviously, everything's fine. So there was talk in the early 1520s. There was, we don't know how accurate this is, but there are suggestions that Margaret and Catherine thought, here's a good idea. Why don't we unite the red and white rose once again with Pole and Mary? Because obviously, even though Pole's a member of the church, he's not a priest. He's not ordained a priest. He doesn't actually ordain himself as a priest until 1554. So it's many decades after this. But obviously, nothing happens. And then we obviously get Henry's Great Matter and Anne Boleyn and all of that. We don't need to go through all of that story again. But because everyone knows what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
But what is very interesting, actually, is that our good friend Eustace Chapuis, he writes back to Charles V, and he says on the 3rd of November, 1534. Sorry, no. First, he goes on the 27th of September, 1533, and he talks to Charles. Well, he writes to Charles, saying that Pole should marry Princess Mary because everyone will support it. And this is a time when there's a few, everything's rumbling.
Right.
He's becoming head of the Church of England.
Right. Anne Boleyn is queen at this point.
Yeah,
she's pregnant.
It's causing so many problems. What's the best way for Anne's enemies to counter this? Let's marry Mary off to Reggie, because even if people don't think Mary's legitimate, we know Reggie is. And we can go back to that Plantagenet line. Let's leave the Tudors. Anyway, Chapuis obviously knows of this. And he also says that Catherine was very much in favour. So he writes that the Queen would like to bestow the princess on him, who's obviously Reggie, in marriage rather than any other, and the princess would not refuse. I mean, obviously Mary doesn't get a choice, but it would, it would be perfect. It'd be perfect for the Catholic faction at the time. I mean, nothing happens. So then Shaftesbury writes again, a year later on the 3rd of November. And again, he says about Pole, besides his grace of person and singular virtues, the Queen knew no one in the world whom she would like better to marry the princess. There are innumerable good personages who hold that the true title to this kingdom belongs to the family of the Duke of Clarence. So obviously, Shaftesbury's is trying to whip up this support for an alliance between Mary and Pole. Whether Catherine really would have supported it or not, I mean, personally, I think she would have, but politically, you can't, because the Poles are sort of not damaged goods, but if you start mingling with them, it sort of backfires on everyone.
Yeah.
Because of obviously their proximity to the throne. It would have been lovely, wouldn't it? Mary and Pole together.
Okay, can we talk about their age difference? Because as you were talking about this, I was like, didn't you say he was born in 1500 and she was born in what, 1516?
16, yeah. So the 16-year difference.
I mean, not unusual for the Tudors, obviously. At least she wasn't, 12 and he was 50, but...
Yeah. I mean, it's not too... But it is bad. But for Pole's credit, it's not like he slept around or anything. He was, I'm sure he just wasn't interested, I don't think. I mean, there were sort of rumours in Italy about this Italian lady, but I think from what we know, she was more of a mother figure or sister figure to him. And so, yeah, I mean, there's no risk of anything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
But it would have been, whether or not they did get on, as we know from later in their lives. They did get on. They got on very well. Whether it would be a marriage of love, who knows? But then whose marriages were back then? I think it'd been very serious. Very serious. I mean, it might have been very much like Ferdinand and Isabel in Spain. Both very pious people. Where how similar they would have been it's difficult to tell. But it would have definitely solved a problem if it's gone ahead. But obviously, because Henry's with Anne at this point, it's never going to happen. Not unless they kidnap Mary and send her off to Italy. But then, are they ever going to come back?
Yeah, exactly. This is if I recall, this is about the time where Henry was trying to do away with Reginald Pole, wasn't it?
Well, we will come to that.
Oh,
yeah. So Shaftesbury's is talking about this in 1534. Anne's very much here. She's queen. If you like it or not. I mean, obviously, I don't like it, but there's two queens at this point. You've got Catherine and obviously Anne.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Henry obviously gets more confident. He then proclaims himself as supreme head of the church. And then, obviously, we then have Thomas More's execution, John Fisher's execution, and obviously the oath of allegiance and supremacy and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So
things are starting to really rumble at this point. Anyway, Pole finally has enough. So to begin with, he was sort of not supportive of Henry, but sort of, okay, I can see what the problem is. Let's go and sort it out, because he gets sent by Henry to the university to ask what do you think about the whole annulment. Anyway, he obviously soon changes his mind, because he suddenly realizes, hang on, this isn't about the annulment anymore. This is about control you want to take away from the papacy. What are you doing? Anyway, so in 1536 seems to be the year of the Tudors. It really does.
A lot happened.
A lot happens, doesn't it? It's like, what doesn't happen in 1536? So obviously you have Catherine dies, Anne is executed.
Yeah.
And Pole publishes this, honestly, it's an amazing book. I have a copy here. It's absolutely ginormous, because this print's tiny. I mean, it's a very dry piece of work, and you've got to know your Latin. but it's called Pro Ecclesiastica Unitatis Defensione. I've completely butchered that, but anyway,
I
it
was
means
going to say easy for you to say.
anyway, it's translated as in defense of ecclesiastical unity. Anyway, this book causes so many problems for Henry. Well, for the Poles. Because, I mean, you've got to give Pole credit. I think because he's safely in Italy, he knows no one can hurt him. Or, it's harder for people to try to hurt him. This is the guy who really just goes for Henry and does not, he doesn't mess around. He basically calls Henry a heretic. He's dangerous. He uses biblical examples. I mean, he says, with your own hand, you have heaped upon yourself the penalties God threatened Israel would receive. He condemns England. He says Henry's condemned England. He uses Moore and Fisher as examples. He says their lives were a continual example to you for right thinking and action. You can always read in their deaths those things that pertain to your dignity and your salvation, as if on a certain book written, not with ink, but with blood. So he completely, he really goes for him. He, completely condemns Moore and Fisher's execution. Already sees them as martyrs. I mean, he's very much building that that sort of sainthood for them, which they do obviously eventually get. He's basically calling himself the new Thomas Becket. How familiar are you guys with Thomas Becket overall?
I feel like I'm pretty familiar, but I'm not sure that the audience is. So if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. So obviously for you guys listening and watching, so Thomas Becket's sort of the most famous saint ever. He's everywhere in Europe. So it's actually quite similar to how Henry VIII actually. So Thomas Becket is a 12th century Archbishop of Canterbury, and he famously goes against Henry II,
his buddy,
over his buddy, who used to be his best friend. That's why he got the position in the first place. Yeah. Never put your best friend in powers of position because they always betray.
Noted.
But anyway, no. I mean, Thomas Becket was sort of he was a bit of a diva, actually. Very much. So he obviously starts criticizing Henry II because Henry VIII, actually, Henry II doesn't really like papal control. And he starts thinking, why doesn't the king have more control about, of the English church? So to cut a long story short, Henry gets so angry about this. I mean, now we don't know if he meant to say these things or if he, it was just a burst of anger. Now I'm not sure I'm going to get the quote completely right, but it's something like, "Who will rid me of this troublesome priest?" Yeah. Now, unfortunately for Henry, there are 3 or 4 knights, depending on the images we look at, overhear this conversation, and they think, "Aha! I know what will help. What will make us great subjects for the king, and he'll probably reward us. We'll go and kill that that troublesome bishop, shall we? Yeah, let's go." So they head to Canterbury Cathedral, and they interrupt evening song. They come to arrest Becket, try to kill him, and Becket, being a trooper, basically says, "Come on, guys, give me your best." Anyway, there's a bit of a tussle. Becket is killed, but apparently he's still not gives them the middle finger as such, but he's still going at them even when he's on the floor and he's bleeding to death. Anyway, Becket, Henry's traumatized about this. He pays penance, and he pays penance for the rest of his life. And Becket's reputation just explodes. Yeah. There's pictures of him everywhere. There's relics of him everywhere. All of Europe loves him. All because he was all about the church's, independence from the king and its superiority over the king. Anyway, so Pole sort of makes him very much like a new Thomas Becket. And obviously, Henry VIII then becomes Henry II. Well, obviously, Henry hates that. So, well, hang on, what? You're making me the pantomime villain now? No, no. I mean, and then it doesn't help that Pole then calls Henry that he's arming all for mutual slaughter. I mean, it's true. It's true, Paul.
Yeah.
It is, Reggie. You are right. But don't tell the fool that because he will just explode, and obviously he does.
Yeah.
Pole's declared a traitor, and I mean, he's got a massive bounty on his head. I think he's sort of the most wanted person in Europe at the time. So obviously, Francis and Charles then think, we can use Pole as sort of leverage. So whereas Pole's sort of not living the life as a rogue and a runaway, poor Mary's obviously, in her position, being traumatized, trying to survive herself. So yeah, I mean, so they both have these sort of wacky stories, wacky lives. And obviously Henry sort of then has a vendetta against Pole. He knows he can't touch him. So if you can't touch him, what do we do? Well, according to Thomas Starkey, who was Reggie's friend or former friend, he says, for one Pole's sake, the king would destroy all Poles. And that's exactly what he does. He rounds up the family in England because obviously Margaret and Reggie's brothers are very much. We don't believe what he's doing. He's a disobedient child. Please let us go and talk to him so we can sort this out. Obviously, Henry doesn't trust any of them. I mean, they probably thought the same as him. I mean, a lot of people probably did. I mean, Mary probably did.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't say that to the king.
Yeah.
Especially at this time because it's 1538. He's already killed one wife. One's died in childbirth fever, and obviously Catherine died. That's 3 wives down. So it's like,
yeah. I feel like I have to bring up the fact that Reginald Pole was probably able to say the things that so many other people wanted to say, including Mary. I'm sure Mary was like, preach it, cousin, because I'm thinking all the same things too.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and a lot of the country probably thought this. I mean, because we have to remember, England is still Catholic, even though they're not, united with Rome as such. A lot of the local people still believe in the right ways. I mean, even Henry himself still believes in mass and all of that sort of stuff. So he's still Catholic. He's just not a Roman Catholic. But anyway, yeah. So Henry sort of rounds them all up, and so Geoffrey Pole gets rounded up first, and he sort of spills the beans. He confesses that there's some sort of conspiracy. It's called the Exeter conspiracy. So it's, we don't know how true it actually was. We think it's completely made up, or it was sort of exaggerated. But it was a good excuse to get rid of the Pole family. So Geoffrey actually survives, but he's really mentally damaged after all of this. So Pole's brother Henry, Lord Montagu, is executed in 1538. And then in 1539, Cromwell, good old Cromwell, produces evidence that suggested that Reggie wanted to marry Mary. So it's coming back to this whole, they should have been married thing. Yeah. And there's suggestions that there's I think it's a banner or some sort of coat of arms with Pole's and Mary's coat of arms joined together. So like a marriage, how they normally are, they're intertwined. Whether or not it was real or not, we don't know. I mean, Adam Pennington thinks it's completely fabricated, the whole thing. But we just don't know how real it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think Margaret Pole would have been that stupid to keep it there. I mean, it may well have been, if it was real, it may well have been made when there were negotiate talks about Mary and Reggie marrying, decades before. But I don't think Margaret would have kept it, especially during this time.
Yeah.
So obviously, Margaret is then imprisoned, and she's just left in the tower because no one knows what to do with her. She's innocent; she's not guilty of anything, but what she represents, Henry just can't deal with it. So while he's off with Catherine Howard, when they go to the north for their progress, he gets Margaret executed, and it's so rushed and botched It wasn't planned. It was obviously something just clicked in Henry's mind, and he just said, "Get rid of the mother. That's all I can do. Get rid of her because she's everything that I hate." So obviously when Reggie hears about this, he starts talk. He's very quiet, and he says that he's now the proud son of a martyr.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now. You call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
And then he disappears for now. So he's obviously really upset about this. But then after he's composed himself, he then says, "Let us be of good cheer. We now have one more patron in heaven." So he's thinking, it's okay because she's died a martyr. She's a saint now. And now we've got another person supporting us from up above. So, yeah, I mean, tragic life. He really did. But he didn't help himself. I think he was quite naive. He was very principled. So, he'd believe in his principles, but he wasn't very good at politics, which is obviously where Mary, she's obviously very principled herself, but she learns the hard way. You need to be political about these things.
Yeah.
Like we said, she definitely agrees with everything that Pole and all the other, the people, committed to treason, believe in. But anyway, yeah, so Pole stays in his, he's around Italy, around Rome, and he presides at the Council of Trent. So for any of you who don't know what the Council of Trent is, it's sort of when the church finally thinks, we do actually need to sort ourselves out because this whole Lutheran thing and Protestant thing is getting, this is getting too much now. Let's call a council and start reforming ourselves. And Pole takes part of like the first session of that. It lasts for decades, so it sort of gets cancelled quite early on, and then it gets brought back after Pole's died, actually, which is quite ironic. I think it's like the 1580s they finally finish.
Wow.
So it's a lot. Like everything in the church, it always takes so long to do it.
Oh yeah, it's true.
But and it's not changed. But what's interesting actually is obviously Pole sort of he's this hero figure in Europe. Everyone loves him, and when Pope Paul III dies in 1549, Pole is so close to becoming Pope. I mean, that would have been extraordinary, wouldn't it? That's a what if Pole had been Pope.
Yeah.
But he doesn't help himself because he's after the first vote. He's so close to a majority. They sort of say, well, there's this procedure called adoration, which sort of is a declaration that you've won because you only need a few more votes technically to win, or you're close enough. We can just do that. I mean, I think that happens under Pope Benedict, actually. If I remember rightly, I think it was a similar sort of system. So, I don't know if it actually happened or not, but I think he brought that in saying, if it's too close to call, we'll just have whoever's got the most votes from the cardinals. But Pole obviously rejects this. He says, no, I don't know if he wants to either just have it done properly or if he's just not really with it. Obviously, him not doing this makes him vulnerable, and then his nemesis, Cardinal Carafa, who used to be his very good friend of his, but it seems like Pole's not very good at keeping friends. He sort of drives them away. Anyway, Carafa is like his nemesis now, and he made sure that Pole lost the second vote, and it fell to the guy who would then become Julius III. He was okay. I mean, he was sort of whatever. He was quite not a weak pope, but yeah. So obviously that's 1549. Henry's on his death. Well, he's dead now. So,
Yeah.
Hey. Pole is finally free. Nothing really happens under Edward because Edward doesn't, Somerset doesn't really care. No, whatever. The Poles are whatever.
Yeah.
After the 1553, Mary becomes queen, and everyone's like, "Yay, Mary's queen!" But it takes nearly a year for Pole to actually come back. But that's obviously because Charles V wants Mary married to Philip first. Get that done, then Pole can come back. Because there's still talk, even in this late stage, of let's just marry Mary and Pole. Perfect situation. Obviously, Charles doesn't want that. He wants Mary to marry Philip, which he obviously does happen. So Pole finally turns up in November 1554, and he has this great speech in Parliament. He says, "I come not to destroy, but to build. I come to reconcile, not to condemn. I come not to compel, but to call again. My commission is of grace and clemency to such as will receive it." And according to the records, everyone just starts crying. Mary and Philip start crying. Everyone's crying. They're all kneeling. He's sort of seen as this god figure because he's all dressed in the cardinal robes, and he's standing upon. It's in. I don't know if it's Westminster Hall. It might be Westminster Hall. They're in. It'd be nice if it was. I'm not quite sure where in Westminster it was, but I assume it was sort of Westminster Hall or somewhere there. And he's on this large stage, and King and Queen are kneeling. Everyone else is kneeling, and you can imagine the scene, can't you?
Yeah. Just
a jubilation and sort of. It's done. We're finally free.
Yes.
But obviously, with Pole so Pole becomes a major figure in Mary's government. He's not technically part of the Privy Council at this stage, but he is basically. Mary says, "Right, sort out the church, sort it out because I've got everything else to deal with, and obviously I want this church sorted. Who better than the papal legate? Perfect." He's not archbishop yet because obviously Cranmer is very much still alive.
Yeah.
But they can sort him out later because it was just quite ironic because obviously, so Paul III actually makes Cranmer archbishop in the first place. So you can't just deprive him because he was actually made, he was made archbishop under the Pope.
Right. It can't be I know I made you archbishop, but Reggie over here, I kind of want to make him archbishop too.
Let's just change him now. Yeah.
I hope you're not upset. You're getting demoted.
Yeah. Sadly, doesn't work like that. Oh dear. But anyway, yeah. So in 1555, Paul IV, who's obviously Carafa, his arch nemesis, really doesn't like Pole at all. I'm not even sure quite why. But he sort of gets infatuated with him and says, "You're a Lutheran, you're a heretic, you're dealing with heresy." Because Pole was, like I said, he's very much for reform, as most humanists are. But because of his links with various groups, it's sort of people get a bit concerned. So he cancels Pole's authority in England, and he tries to bring him back to Rome to face investigation. And Mary says, "No, he needs to stay here because we need him." And not being funny, Pope. No, you're not. So Mary sort of becomes this new Henry figure, saying, "What are you doing? Like Pole's perfect for England. He's English.
Yeah.
He's a Yorkist. He's Catholic. Everyone likes him, and he's enlightened. He knows how to fix things." But Paul IV is just no. But it's more to do because he just hates Philip and he hates Spain. And it's to do with Naples because Paul is originally from Naples, and the people in Naples don't like the Spanish occupation. It's very confusing, very messy.
Yeah.
But obviously, Pole then does eventually become Archbishop of Canterbury in 1556 after Cranmer is executed, and he's living his life. He lives in Lambeth Palace in London, Canterbury Cathedral in Canterbury. And he's actually buried in Canterbury Cathedral. You can still see his tomb. I think it's a modern tomb. It's a tomb on place where he's buried. But what's quite interesting, he's actually buried in the shrine of Thomas Becket, or where Thomas Becket's shrine would have been. So it's very much that Becket parallel again.
Yeah, a little symbology there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and I think Pole said, "I want to be buried." He's actually buried opposite William Warham, who was obviously the Archbishop of Canterbury before Cranmer. So it's sort of that bridging the gap sort of thing between the pre-Reformation and the post-Reformation. And but yeah, I mean, it's a lovely. Well, it's obviously it's a modern tomb because it's very. I think it's modern. I might be wrong, but it's very plain. But then thinking of Pole, I don't think he would have wanted an effigy anyway. So
No.
it may well have been like that to begin with. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a lovely. I mean, it's a beautiful space, Canterbury Cathedral. If anyone ever gets the chance to go there. So yeah, and then what? I mean, what's really sad is that obviously Paul and Mary die on the same day. I mean,
Right.
it's just really weird. They were meant to be married. Everyone wanted them to get married. They didn't marry. They became good friends, and then they both die on the same day. Mary dies first, and then what? 12 hours later, Paul dies,
Wow.
and it's
Yeah.
just
The end of an
yeah.
era.
It is. It really is. It's sort of. I mean, you can see why the Protestants thought it was God's hand because how convenient. You've got the Archbishop and the monarch. They die on the same day. Brand new start.
Yeah, fresh slate for
Yeah.
Elizabeth. I find it so fascinating because, Reginald spent so much of his time not in England.
Mm.
Like most of his life, he wasn't in England. And it makes you wonder, had he and Mary wed at some point, what that would have looked like for England in itself, and then what that would have done with Spain and England's relationship.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's very much a what if.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, obviously England wouldn't. I mean, they would have still had that connection with Spain because Mary is obviously half Spanish, but it wouldn't have been as strong.
Strong.
And
Yeah.
and England wouldn't have had that place in the Spanish Empire because England would have just been very much England.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, maybe that's what they needed. Maybe they just needed that time to sort of recover from what happened, and then they could then. I mean, if Mary and Paul had children, which may have been more likely because obviously Paul's around, he's in England. But it's interesting. I mean, would Reggie have been king, or would he have been prince? I mean, how would Mary have done it? Because obviously, Mary always said she never wanted to marry an Englishman because she didn't want someone taking over her control.
Yeah.
But then he's not just an Englishman; he's a Plantagenet.
Right.
You know, would people? I mean, they would have probably accepted him as king more than Philip because it's not a foreign intervention; it's English. It's
Yeah.
actually going back to what some still saw as the legitimate line. So it's, I mean, would it have been the reigns of Reginald and Mary, or Mary and Reginald? I
Gosh,
mean, that's
it's like it's almost parallel with Henry VII and Elizabeth of York, right? We have a Tudor and a Plantagenet.
yeah. I
Again,
mean, it's exactly the same, isn't it?
wow.
Oh, that would have been nice, wouldn't it? Like round it off the Tudors.
Yeah. But one of the things that I think about when I think about Henry VIII and his six wives, it seems like the most successful of his six wives was his Spanish bride
Of
because
course.
that brought an alliance with Spain and it brought an alliance with the empire. All of that. And then once he started marrying English brides, that seems to be when the trouble started happening.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because they're all English apart from obviously Anne of Cleves, aren't they?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that
and
didn't
I mean,
last.
no, and they didn't really have any international power. I
Right.
mean, Anne had that alliance with the French, I think, but we don't know how strong that really was.
Yeah. It wasn't a
James Dean was
family.
no,
No.
it wasn't a family thing, was it? Jane had no power. Anne of Cleves didn't last long enough to have any power.
Yeah. Catherine
Um,
Howard.
Captain
Wow.
Howard again, no. Best leave that to it. But I mean, Catherine Parr, she was a very good English queen, but again, how strong was she in Europe? We just don't know. Because one, they didn't again, because Henry died, she wasn't queen for that long,
Yeah.
and again, maybe she wasn't interested in Europe as such, or maybe the Protestant side of Europe, maybe, but we just don't know. So yeah, I mean, Mary and Philip, obviously, it was a dream. It was perfect politically.
Yeah.
Emotionally, maybe not, but they both respected each other. And again, it's the same with Mary and Pole. Emotionally, probably wouldn't have worked really because, like I said, he was quite serious. I mean, so was Mary, but Mary obviously did like a laugh sometimes, and she loved spending money. I can see Reginald is very much like a Henry VII, sort of, you know, counting up all of the totals and thinking, oh, hang on, what, and like watching every single penny, thinking, well, what are you spending this on? What are you spending this on? What are you spending this on?
Yeah, Mary, you
Whereas
lost a
Mary,
lot of money in cards yesterday. We
oh,
need to keep
yeah,
that.
she loved to gamble, loved to I think I've told the breakfast story, haven't I?
I
I'll
love
say it.
that story.
I'll say
Yes.
it again in case no one's heard. But in her privy accounts, I think she's when she's princess in 1534. She in her accounts she wages a bet. I think it's bowling. I think she plays bowling with someone, and she bets her breakfast. And with Mary, she obviously loses. So she loses the game of bowling, and she obviously has to then give this person her breakfast. Obviously, she wouldn't have starved. She wouldn't be given another breakfast. So maybe that's why she lost. Maybe it was all like, oh, let's give this person a nice
Yeah.
breakfast.
Yeah.
So she may have just been very good at playing to lose.
She was so giving. She was
Well,
showing.
yeah, that puts a new turn of things. So maybe she wasn't actually that bad. Maybe she was just very, very good, and she didn't
That's
want the other
right.
person losing.
That's what we say when people are bad at things. Maybe they were really good at it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, she lost so much money. I mean, there's that account when I can't remember who asked, but the council asked Philip, "Can you please watch the Queen spending because she spent thousands and thousands of pounds on clothes." Do you think this is the best use of the money at the time when the country's a bit broke?
Oh, but yeah, you have to feel for Mary because her life before that, I'm sure when she became queen, she was like, I'm free. Now I
Oh,
can do
definitely.
what
I
I
mean, she,
want.
she definitely felt like one of these people who've never had anything in that. It's like winning the lottery, I think. You've never had anything in your life, and then suddenly you have access to all of this money, and you know what you should your station and you know your status, and she just goes on spending spree. She just goes to all of the shops and says, "I love that, I love that, I love that." I love that."
Okay, so this is interesting to me because many, many years ago, I heard something where it was said, when you win the lottery, you become more of the person that you were prior to having money. So if you were a caring and generous person before becoming a billionaire, now you've
Mm.
just become even more caring and generous. But if you were a jerk and you didn't care about people, like then you would become, I'm really not using the word I want to use, but you would
Yeah.
just become more of that person. And
Mm.
it seems like maybe that stood true for Mary. Like she always enjoyed clothing, right? She always
Yeah.
enjoyed gambling and doing those things. So when she had the money, then she just had more of that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, she's always been a very kind person. So when you have the money to help more people, that's what she does.
Yeah.
Um, and Paul was generous as well. But again, he's a very serious person. So, if they had married, she would have been very much the public figure, and she was the queen, so of course she would be. And Paul would be sort of that loyal person behind the throne, sort of guiding her or sort of helping her religiously and being that sort of conscience figure, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been quite an interesting reign, I think, if they had married.
Oh, the historical what ifs.
Mm.
Dr. Peter Stiffell, thank you so much for filling in for Dr. Emma today on this historical Tinder about Mary the First and Reginald Pole. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was really good fun, wasn't it? No, you're very welcome. I mean, it's always nice learning a bit more about Pole because again, he's sort of one of these figures people know of him, but I mean, even back then, do we actually really know who the real Reginald Pole was? No, and no one.
No.
I don't think anyone ever will, and because he doesn't. I mean, apart from obviously his big book where he just goes against Henry. Apart from that, when anyone ever questioned him about things, he'd say, "That's very interesting." Oh, I don't know. Oh, I'll keep that in mind. No, he'd never. No, what do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get back to you, and he never does.
He was this
You know,
mysterious figure.
yeah, very much a middle road sort of person. He wouldn't go on one side or the other.
Yeah. Well, Peter, if anybody listened to or watched this episode and they have some questions or they want to talk to you about what we talked about today, how can they find you?
Yes, definitely. I'm on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram. If you go on my website, you should be able to link to my email address if you if you can't find any of the social media or you don't do social media. If you go on my website, drpeterstiffell.com, follow the links, there will be a contact form where you can contact me personally.
Perfect. And I'll put a link to your website in the show notes too to make it easier for everybody.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
brilliant.
Peter, thank you so much for coming on today. This was a lot of fun.
No problem, Rebecca. Anytime.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Dr. Emma and Me. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review the show. It really helps more people find it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you'll know as soon as a new episode drops. And if you'd like to support what we're doing, head over to Patreon and become a patron. You'll get early access, bonus content, and more. Thanks again for being here. See you next time.